Okay, this is a video to clear up some confusion about, adding stuff using the Big Blue configuration utility and still getting proper names for everything. So, when you go into the Big Blue configuration program and just edit any one of your game lists, see, you'll notice here that when you edit games in the list, there's an Add from MAME button. Now, what this lets you do is, it just lets you select things, using MAME's list XML, like all the proper names, for all the games in MAME, and then just drag those over to your list. Or even just do like a, select all and just drag them all over. I mean, and that's actually what I did in this list. I literally selected every game in MAME, and I just dragged them over to this all MAME list. And that's pretty much it. You get them all with proper names. Um, yeah. Um, and so, if you do that, you don't even have to, really rename anything, because when you launch this and go to like your all main list, they're just, all in there, with their actual names. And so you might not like some of these names, but you're pretty much going to run into that with any of these setups, because ultimately people's source for MAME names are going to be MAME's own list XML, and that is just the proper title of these games according to MAME. So some of them are okay, but for a lot of them you're going to get, like the version in parentheses or something like that, and that's just unavoidable. I mean, my real recommendation on this is, you probably don't want 1,000+ games in your arcade cabinet. I mean, realistically, nobody's gonna have time, to play most of these things. Most games in MAME are, smoldering butt that you wouldn't want to play anyway. And you really run the risk of just overwhelming people using your arcade cabinet. I mean, they see a list so huge, they don't even know what to select. I mean, that's why in my list, I have, just these handful of gems, that have been, picked from the sewer, and these are all like really high quality games, that people would, probably enjoy playing, and so that's my recommendation for you, because even if you do go the route where you just pull like everything in MAME, or something like that, like everything from every emulator. I mean, how good of a list is this really? Just like all of this garbage. I mean, Agent X prototype, yeah, whatever. Um, I mean, really, there's just so much stuff. I mean, just scrolling through this list at like maximum speed. I mean, it takes like seconds to even get out of a letter. I mean, it's just too much crapola in here. I mean, and there are like 50 versions. I mean, oh yeah, I want the Hispanic version of Capcom Sports Club. I mean, let's get real here. So I recommend, taking the time to filter some of this stuff out. But you can do that though using, that add from MAME configuration utility. I mean, because if we go into our all MAME list here, you could just do something like, okay, I want Capcom, sports or something. And you can see those versions. I mean, and you could just do that. You could just say, oh, okay, I want the Asian and, Japanese version, and then just like drag those into your list. I mean, to me, this is a like really easy user interface, because you have like a super fast search here. You can just search for like anything, and just add the things with the proper name that you want. Um, yeah, so that's that, and I mean, if there's ever like another prominent emulator that actually covers, like a lot of games, and has its own system like list XML where you can, go through it and get that list of games. I mean, I might add support for other emulators, but right now though, MAME is kind of the only one, like this, where I actually added in specific emulator support. I didn't really want to, I didn't want to tie Big Blue to any specific emulators because who knows what's going to happen in the future, you know? I mean, it might just happen that, MAME craps out and something else ends up being, the hot thing, and then all of that was a waste of time. That's why I tried to make this thing completely generic. And if you look at the emulator list here, you can see like what you can do here when you create your emulator template. You can say, okay, I want MAME to be, point here, and I want it to use this snapshot structure. So it's just going to basically use like the name of something in the snapshots folder and these command line parameters. And so when you're adding things using that add from MAME, you're basically telling it that, oh, okay, I'm going to use this emulator template. So every time you drag something over here, it's going to use that template. It's going to pull the SDL MAME thing, using that, snapshot structure, all that stuff. So yeah, so you don't have to, manually, rename all those things. I mean, even though, like I said, you're probably going to want to, because, like, why would you want some of this stuff to show? But I mean, there's not much I can do about that, though. These are the best names, for MAME that I can give you.